You wouldn't believe what some pets are capable of. Today, I'm going to tell you about times when our furry friends turned into real beasts. In this video, you'll learn about incredible and frankly, creepy incidents that will leave you speechless. These stories will turn your perception of loyal pets upside down and make you see them in a new light. Are you ready to be truly amazed? Let's dive into a world of surprises and find out what our four-legged friends are capable of. How do you choose a gift for your wife's 60th birthday? Something special that will be remembered forever. But hardly anyone could have guessed that one of those gifts would be a little camel. That's exactly the kind of surprise Pam Weaver's husband gave her in 2007. The Weaver family lived in Australia and always had a special love for animals. Their farmhouse goats, kangaroos, and rabbits. Australia is known for having a huge number of wild camels roaming its vast lands, brought here in the 19th century as pack animals. Today, over 1 million one-humped camels roam the Australian deserts. However, the story with the camel that Pam received turned into a tragedy. The animal threw the woman to the ground and trampled her to death. It's worth noting that Pam took care of the little camel almost from the very first days of its life. At the time of the tragedy, the animal was only 10 months old. The camel had previously shown signs of aggression, trampling the family's domestic goats. Experts believe that this behavior could have been linked to the onset of the animal's sexual maturity. In 2011, the world press was filled with news of a tragedy that occurred in South Africa. Farmer Marius Els became a victim of his beloved hippopotamus named Humphrey. A few years ago, Els rescued Humphrey when he was just a little calf during a severe flood. However, years later, the pet unexpectedly attacked its owner, leading to his death from multiple injuries. Before this incident, Humphrey had repeatedly shown aggressive behavior, attacking the livestock of Els's business partner. Many acquaintances and friends of the farmer warned him that sooner or later, the hippo could cause an accident. Hippos are considered one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. Many acquaintances and friends of the farmer warned him that sooner or later, the hippo could cause an accident. Hippos are considered one of the most dangerous animals in Africa. Every year, they kill more people than elephants, lions, and rhinos combined. In 2009, a tragic event occurred. A Himalayan bear named Teddy killed his owner. Kelly and Michael Walls lived in Pennsylvania, where Michael was in the exotic animal trade. At the time of the incident, the couple's license to keep these animals had already expired. The couple had a wide variety of animals, including a lion, a tiger, a jaguar, a leopard, a serval, and Teddy himself. The tragedy happened on a Sunday evening when Kelly was cleaning the bear's cage. She tried to distract the animal by tossing it some food, but suddenly the bear lunged at her. The woman raised Teddy from a young age. However, bears become especially dangerous once they reach 4 years of age. Despite living alongside humans for many years, these animals remain wild and unpredictable, and they can never be fully domesticated. The story of Mark Fogel, whose apartment was overflowing with insects, gained attention on 1,000 Ways to Die. His apartment was literally overflowing with insects, creating an atmosphere that could have served as a set for a horror movie. This case gained widespread attention thanks to the popular show 1,000 Ways to Die, hosted by the well-known actor Ron Perlman, who played Hellboy. According to reports, Mark Fogel was bitten by a venomous black widow right in his apartment. The poison gradually entered his system, and soon the young man passed away. Because of his reclusive lifestyle, no one noticed Mark's disappearance until the unbearable smell from his apartment prompted the neighbors to call the police. When the police broke down the door, they were met with a horrifying scene. What was left of Mark Fogel was eaten by the snakes and reptiles that lived in his home. There's a theory that this is a made-up story to attract an audience for the talk show. Even though, in 2004, all the English and American media covered this story inside and out, no real evidence was presented to confirm or deny it. Al Abel, a resident of eastern Illinois, kept several exotic animals, including an African lion. Although he usually acted cautiously, one day a tragic incident occurred. While cleaning the large enclosure where the lion lived, Abel made a fatal mistake. He didn't lock the door to the secondary enclosure where he temporarily placed the lion before entering the main enclosure. The details of what happened remain unclear. But it's known that when Alla returned home in the evening, she found the lion roaming freely around the yard instead of being in its enclosure. Realizing that something serious had happened, she immediately called the police. The arriving officers found Abel's mangled body and had to put the lion down. In September 2004, a tragedy occurred in Cincinnati, also related to the keeping of exotic animals. A woman who was into reptiles kept several venomous snakes in her home, some of which were illegal under Ohio state law. On Labor Day, she was attacked by one of her venomous vipers. Despite the severity of the bite, the woman managed to get to the hospital, but her condition rapidly worsened. 3 days later, she died from the effects of the poisoning. When officials, along with zoologists from the Cincinnati Zoo, arrived at the woman's home, they found 9 venomous snakes and 2 alligators, as well as a number of other exotic reptiles. Wolf dogs, hybrids of wolves and dogs, are legal to keep as pets in all U.S. states and Canada, although some regions strongly discourage breeding them. It is difficult to determine the exact ratio of wolf and dog blood in each specific case, so it can be extremely difficult to predict the behavior of these animals. Sandra Piavizan from Pennsylvania learned this firsthand. She raised 9 wolf dogs, thinking they loved her unconditionally. However, in July 2006, the situation spiraled out of control. The pack attacked Sandra and brutally tore her apart. Norman Bovaldo, a resident of Southwold, Ontario, Canada, was 66 years old when his life was tragically cut short by his own tigress. His family members found his mutilated body in one of the tiger enclosures on his property. No one saw how he got into the cage, so the reasons for the attack remain a mystery. For Norman, this wasn't his first unpleasant experience with the tigers he kept at home. In 2004, a 10-year-old boy was mauled by a tiger on his property while trying to take a photo with the animal. After this incident, local authorities passed a law banning the keeping of exotic animals in private homes. However, Norman appealed the court's decision and was able to keep 5 big cats. Interestingly, Norman Bovaldo was the head of the Canadian Exotic Animal Owners Association, an organization that actively advocates for the right of citizens to keep wild animals as pets. Florida residents Jaron Herr and Charles Darnell were sentenced to 12 years in prison after their 3-meter-long tiger python was found in the crib of their 2-year-old daughter, who suffocated. The couple insisted that the python had been safe during the 5 years they owned it. However, the lack of a secure lid on the enclosure and the use of a simple blanket as a cover played a key role in the indictment. The court ruled that the child's death was accidental. Both parents were found guilty of criminal negligence regarding the safety of both their child and the snake named Gypsy, who was suffering from malnutrition and weighed significantly below normal. Jaron Herr's mother testified for the prosecution, stating that she had repeatedly warned the couple about the risks of keeping a snake near their young daughter and even offered to take the python in to provide it with a more suitable living environment. A tragedy occurred in the United States that shocked the public. A woman adopted 50 dogs and died from hepatitis C. Doctors advised reducing the number of dogs, but it was too late. Doctors, having learned about the diagnosis, advised her to reduce her weight and get rid of the dogs. But it was too late. When the woman died, the dogs started feeding on her body. By the time the authorities arrived, the dogs had become vicious and would not let anyone near the trailer with the body. Authorities started to worry that the dogs might carry hepatitis. Local deputies and veterinarians began working on this issue, but unfortunately one veterinarian was bitten, and the authorities took more radical measures. In the end, 27 dogs were shot, and the woman's body was finally able to be buried. In the American state of Nebraska, a man living in a private home died suddenly. For several years, he had 2 adorable pugs named Harry and Sally living with him. Since the owner lived alone and apparently hardly interacted with anyone and had no relatives who didn't look for him, a few weeks later, the police found him half-eaten by his own pets. The dogs had gotten so hungry that they started eating the man's body. They would have kept on feasting on their owner if the police hadn't found him. The dogs were so hungry that they began to eat the man's corpse. The dogs would have kept on feasting on their owner if the police hadn't found him. In 2010, a tragic story shocked many. Herbert Walden cared for his ill mother while needing supervision after a heart attack. Both passed away soon after. Their home, surrounded by cats, was drawn by accumulated trash. Their home was surrounded by a bunch of cats that were drawn in by the accumulated trash. When the bodies of the deceased were discovered, the corpses of a dog and 3 cats were found next to them. There were so many cats that they started eating the corpses. It's still unclear whether those cats were pets or if they were drawn in by the smell of the trash. In any case, all the cats were sent to the local shelter. One evening, a pig farm owner from Oregon went out to feed his piglets, but he never came back. After several anxious hours, his family found only fragments of his body and his glasses in the pig pen. Most of his remains were consumed by the animals. Notably, this wasn't Gartner's first encounter with aggressive pig behavior. Earlier, one of them had already attacked him. The lawyers had to come up with theories about the reasons for the tragedy. It's possible that the man had a heart attack, or the pigs knocked him down and started eating him. Incident was shocking. Pigs aren't aggressive. Pig was 1,323 pounds, double normal. However, a significant factor might have played a role. The pig involved in the tragedy weighed twice the normal amount, around 1,323 pounds. Gartner was 69 years old at the time of his death. Sandra Harold, a friend of Charles Nash, decided to get an unusual pet, a huge chimpanzee. One day, she couldn't get the animal back into its cage, so she reached out to her friend for help. But everything went completely off the rails. An enraged chimpanzee named Travis attacked Charla, severely injuring her face. It took Charla a whole year to recover from her injuries. Despite their 30-year friendship, both women filed lawsuits against each other. Later on, the chimpanzee's owner passed away. When the police arrived at the scene, they found severed fingers of the victim scattered throughout the house, looking like meat that had gone through a meat grinder. This case reminded everyone once again how dangerous it is to try to tame a wild animal. The cassowary is considered one of the most dangerous birds on the planet. This large bird, about the height of an adult person, has powerful legs with sharp 4-inch claws. One strike from this bird can be fatal for a person. Despite that, some exotic animal lovers keep cassowaries at home. In 2019, a tragic incident occurred in the state of Florida involving one of these breeders, a 75-year-old man. According to police reports, he accidentally fell to the ground and was instantly attacked by his dangerous pet. The situation became critical right away, as cassowaries can reach speeds of up to 31 miles per hour, 50 kilometers per hour, and jump as high as 7 feet. This case is far from the only one where cassowary attacks made the news. For example, in 2012 in Australia, a bird chased a man toward a cliff over the water, and then knocked him down with a blow to the back. Fortunately, the man survived, only suffering a few bruises and torn clothes. In January 2019, a tragedy occurred in Indonesia. A woman named Dizzy Tuvo fell into the enclosure where a crocodile nicknamed Mary was kept. Tuvo was the owner of a cosmetics business, but the reason for keeping the crocodile on the lab premises remains unknown. Maybe it was kept as a pet. When they found the woman's body, most of it had already been eaten by the predator. Maybe it was kept as a pet. When they found the woman's body, most of it had already been eaten by the predator. To neutralize and capture the crocodile, they had to call in the police, the army, and the Wildlife Protection Service. The operation took about 3 hours and required the involvement of dozens of specialists. After Mary was captured, she was taken to a wildlife rehabilitation center. Researchers, analyzing the causes of aggressive behavior in animals, came to the conclusion that the main reason for such incidents is insufficient nutrition or its complete absence. Prolonged starvation leads to the depletion of the body, and the animal starts to see any living creature as potential prey. And I, my friends, want to make you an interesting offer. You have a unique opportunity to become part of our team. If you have video editing skills, you can voice over videos in Russian, English, and other languages. Or if you write interesting scripts, we'd be happy to work with you. message our Telegram bot. The link is in the description. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.